last night at UFC Sao Paulo. Last night at UFC Sao Paulo, we saw 8 rounds of heavyweight action, for better or for worse. We're going to get into that, as well as UFC 295 fight predictions for the big three. And then we got Makhachev versus Oliveira, Islam versus Charles, part 2. When's that fight happening? We'll talk about these topics and more next.
You're watching The Community MMA.
Welcome to The Community MMA. This is your boy Chris Cross checking in, and we're going through it, man, over the last 24 hours. But you know what? It's all good. Things happen. Last night, the live stream went out at UFC Sao Paulo as we were covering that. This morning, the Miami Dolphins lost. So you know your boy's already upset about that. Then I get in the car and the car won't start. So it's going down today. It's going down today. But enough of my problems, because we had big problems last night at UFC Sao Paulo, and that's 8 rounds in the heavyweight division. The odds of that happening are slim to none. It's probably 20 to 1 if you took both of those fights to go to a decision. And the crazy one was Almeida versus Derek Lewis. You thought for sure we're going to get a finish in the main event. For sure we're getting a finish in the main event. But instead, it goes a distance. And Jailton Almeida breaks the record with over 21 minutes of control time. Last held by Curtis Blades at about 19 and some change. So he controlled Derek Lewis from beginning to end. There was only 3+ minutes on the feet. And you divide that by 5 rounds, and you can see you're looking at like 40 seconds, 30 seconds on average on the feet. One round went like a minute. And then eventually Almeida gets a takedown. The Brazilian crowd goes crazy, and that's where the fight stays. And that's the story of the night in that one. It was just an easy victory for Almeida. And yeah, he didn't get the big finish. Derek Lewis did really well in defense, but just couldn't get up. Much improved. 3-4 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago, Derek Lewis gets finished in that situation. But he made it to a decision, which was good for him, even though it was just a complete dominating performance by Jailton Almeida. And then in the weirdest fight of the night, you got Gabriel Bonfim coming in at 15-0, taking on Nicholas Dalby, his toughest challenge yet. And it ended up leading to a wild finish. When these guys are trading now, Bonfim looking to get another takedown. He may be getting a little tired here. And a nice uppercut by Dalby, who you know is a workhorse, and he's dominating here around 2, 28-12 in significant strikes. And Bonfim's in a little bit of trouble for the first time that we've seen. Oh, and Dalby just drives a knee. Bonfim goes down. Oh my goodness. And he's covering up. He's not fighting back. And that's it. The ref stops it. Unbelievable. Gabriel Bonfim goes down, and the crowd is in shock. They can't believe it. Nicholas Dalby jumps on top of the octagon, and that's going to be a huge quality win for him. Beating an undefeated fighter at 15-0. And the sky was the limit for Bonfim. Well, he reached the sky in this one because Nicholas Dalby is a workhorse. He does not stop. This is a guy now with 24 wins in MMA. He's 24-4. Yeah, so that's an incredible win by Nicholas Dalby to get the KO finish. They ruled it a TKO, but it looked like a KO to me. I mean, Bonfim needed the ref to jump in at that point. I mean, dominating performance by Nicholas Dalby in terms of the finish. It was going Bonfim's way early, and then the fight switched. Then you had another big win by Elvis Brenner. We got this pick wrong last night. Took the underdog. Krzyzewski continues to move forward, being very aggressive here. And he's got his hands up, so looking good. Nice leg kick by Brenner. And this is the one fight. We're perfect on a night so far, 5-0. But this is the one fight that we took a chance on. And we needed to come through. Come on, Krzyzewski. Elvis Brenner backs off. He's much shorter than Krzyzewski. This is a catchweight fight at 165. So just shy of the welterweight division. Ooh, big left and right for Krzyzewski. Now he comes forward. Oh, takes a right. Big right by Brenner. Look out for that. Ooh, flying knee misses for Brenner. And he's starting to get more aggressive now for sure. And it's just the length and the reach of Krzyzewski. Oh, big right drops Krzyzewski. No. And just like that, the unbeaten streak tonight for us comes to an end. And I kind of knew it when I made that pick. Elvis Brenner is going to get the knockout KO victory here at UFC Fight Night over. Yeah, so Elvis Brenner ended up knocking us down from the winning streak. We started 5-0, which is hard to do in the prelims. We always, if we're going to struggle in a card, even if we go 7-3, we're getting 2 or 3 wrong. Or if we go like 6-5, we're getting 2, 3, 4 wrong in the prelims, and we run the table almost in the main card. Last night it was a complete reverse. We ended up going 1-3 in the main card. You also had Vitor Petrino getting a big finish last night. Check this out. The ref a little upset with Petrino and Bukauskas. Fighters coming out without their mouthpieces had to stop the fight. But here we go. Bukauskas lands a left and right combination. And the fans booing a little bit at the stoppage, but they'll let it go. And these are 2 big guys, man. Anything can happen at any given time. Bukauskas comes in, drops his head, lands a left, though. Better be careful there. Leaving himself open. Petrino's continually walking forward, takes a right. Ooh, wait. Both fighters standing right-handed. Petrino's got that leg way back. He's going to pop this right eventually. And he's really being patient here. Boom, big left dropped Bukauskas. Whoa, forget the right. Forget the right. And Petrino jumps on top of the octagon, and he gets a big finish, man. Holy cow. Yeah, we nearly called it. Like, the big right's coming. But it ended up being the left jab, left hook that finished the night for Vitor Petrino over Modestas Bukauskas. And those were some of the big finishes. Eduardo Mora had a big finish in the second fight of the night, and you got a lot of decisions. So now the big question always is how did we finish last night in terms of the picks? Let's take a look. There it is, 6-3-1. You had the draw with Renat Fakhretdinov. We started out 5-0, or 4-0, excuse me. And then lost Krzyzewski, Abus Magomedov, he lost. Gabriel Bonfim, he lost. We still had Jailton Almeida and Rodrigo Nascimento. So we were 2-2 in the final 4. And Rodolfo Vieira had to pull out. Or that fight ended up being canceled because Armen Petrosyan couldn't go. So 6-3-1, 26-11. We got the main event last night. 285, 158, and 5 on the year. So we're almost 130 more wins than losses. And we'll take that every day of the week or every year, if you know what I mean. I mean, because one of these years we're going to have a bad year. I mean, it's going to happen. We're going to have a bad year. But thankfully this year wasn't a bad year for us, no matter what happens now. I mean, we're into November. We got about 6 or 7 cards left. Even if things go sideways, we're still going to have well over 100 more wins and losses. We like to get to 150, though. What are we, like 137, 138 above losses? Wins above losses? 150 would be a good solid mark to get to. 160 would be awesome. And it's the first year we've tracked them, because we know that we're having solid nights. In 2020, 21, 22, we're having a lot of good nights. And it's like, let's start tracking this thing. We see other people tracking them throughout the year. Let's track it and see what happens. Now, as we switch gears, we got to talk about some breaking news, and that's Makhachev versus Oliveira too, right? Oliveira had to pull out. Makhachev dominated Alexander Volkanovski, so he's well rested. He's ready to go. I mean, that was like a round. So, how quickly can Oliveira get back in this thing? Well, he says it was quite a deep cut. Oliveira said, UFC Fight Night last night in Sao Paulo. I don't have any planned scheduled fights at the moment. We got to take our time to get a good recovery. So might go back into training in about a week or so. So You're looking at 2, 3, 4 months if he goes back into training this quickly. So that's good news. And that means this thing might go down in January or February. But you know, the UFC wants to finish strong in December, and they want to start strong in January. That's just how it goes, because over the New Year break, you get 2 or 3 weeks off. They want to kick off the year strong. January is always a solid month, and they would love to get Makhachev versus Oliveira too booked in January. So if that's possible, you know what's happening. It seems like that's a direction this thing is going to go, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, UFC 295, right around the corner, goes down this Saturday, November 11th. And we need to get into the predictions for the big three. And the first one's an interesting one, right? I know sometimes we overlook the women's divisions, but this is one you can't overlook. Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern, who you know I like. Very difficult decision here, or prediction. So let's get into it. In the women's strawweight division at UFC 295, you got Jessica Andrade, Brazilian, coming in at 24-12, taking on fellow Brazilian Mackenzie Dern, who comes in at 13-3. Dern 3 inches taller at 5'4". She's 30, Andrade 32. They're both right in their prime. Dern 1 inch reach advantage, no big deal there. They both fight right-handed. Now, where it gets interesting, and it's amazing that Dern is the favorite, because Andrade, very active, 6.7 significant strikes per minute to 3.4 for Dern. Andrade also lands just shy of 1 takedown per round. Now, Andrade, 70% takedown defense. Dern, just 40. So that's going to be a problem for Mackenzie Dern. Now, Andrade has struggled lately, which is why Dern is probably the favorite. Losing to Tatiana Suarez, by submission. Yan Xiaonan by KO. Erin Blanchfield by submission. But these are all very good fighters that she struggled against. And she's been moving up and down between strawweight and flyweight. Now Dern, coming off the big win over Angela Hill by decision. Also lost to Yan Xiaonan by majority decision. So, she took her to a decision, didn't get KO'd. One of the judges, I believe, had it as a draw. That's what led to the majority decision. Remember, Andrade got KO'd by Xiaonan. She also beat Tisha Torres by split decision. So Dern has definitely been up and down, but I still think the sky's the limit for her. It's going to be a very tough fight because Andrade is not an easy out. But I like Mackenzie Dern to win this fight, and I don't know how, because normally we look at the stats. These are two fighters that have been around the game for a while, so their stats are pretty much on point at this point in time. And, Andrade doubles her up in significant strikes per minute. She lands 3 times as many takedowns as Mackenzie Dern, who lands less than 1 on average per fight. But just the will of Mackenzie Dern leads me to believe she's going to find a way to get this victory, right? This is a fight she cannot afford to lose. And therefore, back against the wall, gut instinct tells me she's going to get the job done by unanimous decision. She may not lead in significant strikes, but she'll keep it close. She might lose 1 round big, but win the other 2 close. So when you look at the numbers, you might expect her to lose, but she's going to win this fight here, in my opinion. Women's strawweight division. Yeah, so we like Mackenzie Dern just on sheer will, gut instinct, because it's going to be a back and forth fight. I don't see this fight finishing quickly. I see this being a long decision fight, but great fight, a lot of striking, some good takedowns, some great takedown defense. Everything is going to be at play in this one. And Mackenzie Dern has got to find a way to win this fight. And it'd be a big win on her resume against a big name. And that puts her right into championship contention. So, this is one she's got to get. We'll see what happens. That's the first of the big 3. Then you get Pavlovich versus Aspinall. And I can't stress enough, after 8 rounds of heavyweight work this past weekend, we need a finish here. And, I'm liking Pavlovich. I think he should be fighting John Jones, but he's got to get through Aspinall first. And Aspinall is a big boy. In the heavyweight division at UFC 295, you got Pavlovich versus Aspinall. A big heavyweight showdown. Pavlovich is 18-1, Aspinall 13-3. And believe it or not, Aspinall is a slight favorite, despite Pavlovich being one of the best heavyweight fighters in the division. Now, Aspinall is 2 inches taller at 6'5". He's 30, Pavlovich 31. They're both in their prime. Aspinall's given up 6 inches in reach to Pavlovich. Pavlovich fights left-handed. Aspinall fights right-handed. These guys are both very active, which makes this definitely an exciting fight. 8.7 significant strikes per minute for Pav. 7.7 for Aspinall. I mean, that's ridiculous. Aspinall can also land takedowns, like over 1 per round. So that's going to be important for Pavlovich to defend those, because that's the key to Aspinall's victory. But he defends them 75% of the time. He has yet to lose. Well, actually, I'm sorry. He did lose in the UFC to Alistair Overeem back in 2018. But since then, he's won 6 in a row, including 6 straight KOs against Blades, Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, Shamil Abdurakhimov, Maurice Green, and Marcelo Gaume. So he's just finishing people. Aspinall's been up and down, but more up. Already beat Marcin Tybura in the last fight by KO. By the way, he's got 100% takedown defense. That shouldn't matter, though. He did lose to Curtis Blades by KO in the first round. 15 seconds in. That's wild. But he also beat Volkov by submission, KO'd Sergey Spivak, and subbed Andrei Arlovsky. And it's amazing to me that Aspinall's the favorite here. To me, Pavlovich is the future heavyweight champion. This is a guy that John Jones does not want to fight. And I know Aspinall's a big dude. He's capable of winning this fight, no question about it. But Sergey Pavlovich, again, is the future. He's got that one blemish on his record against a very good fighter, and that was his first UFC fight. Could very easily be 19-0. But to me, Pavlovich is going to win this fight. He's going to defend the takedowns. He might get taken down once, but he's going to win the other 2 rounds in dominant fashion. So I look for a dominant victory for Pavlovich. 6 KOs in a row could come to an end here, but this guy KOs people. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens to Aspinall, who did get KO'd by Curtis Blades. I look for Pavlovich to win one way or the other with dominating force to move to 19-1 here, heavyweight division, UFC 290. Yeah, so we definitely like Pavlovich to win this fight. I mean, as I said in the prediction, John Jones doesn't want to face this guy. Not because he can't beat him, but he knows he's a real heavyweight with some real power, and he's not going to be easy, an easy out. It's going to be a battle where anything can happen, and John Jones wants no part of it. Easier to fight Stipe. More likely to win that fight. But then again, he beat Cyril Gane. Didn't see that coming. I mean, I saw it coming, but he thought that would be a real tough fight. John Jones made it look easy. Now, in the main event, and it was supposed to be John Jones and Stipe, but that fight fell through. But even better, really, we get Yuri Prochazka makes his return against Alex Pereira, who looks good in the light heavyweight division. Let's get into it. In the light heavyweight division, for the light heavyweight division title, you got the return of Yuri Prochazka. He comes in at 29-3, taking on Alex Pereira, who comes in at 8-2. And this is for the vacant belt. Right? Just a quick recap. Yuri Prochazka had the belt. He relinquished it. Jamal Hill got it. He also vacated the belt. And now Pereira and Prochazka are going to fight for the vacant belt. Now, Yuri, believe it or not, 1 inch shorter than Alex Pereira at 6'3". He's 30. Pereira, 36 years old. Yuri has a 1 inch reach advantage, 80-79. Both guys stand right-handed. Yuri, more active, 5.8 significant strikes per minute versus 5.1 for Pereira. But that could be tested here because Pereira is going to continue to stalk Yuri all over the octagon, continue pressing forward, and we'll see if Yuri can keep up the pace with that going on. And neither guy really wants the fight to go to the ground. Both guys are going to want to keep this fight standing. Now, as we dig a little bit deeper, Yuri's 68% takedown defense. He's coming off a win over Glover Teixeira where he submitted him by rear in the 5th round. Led 120-111 in significant strikes, but he gave up 5 takedowns. So we'll Pereira be looking at that. He also beat Dominic Reyes and Volkan Oezdemir. On the other hand, Alex Pereira has a 70% takedown defense. And yes, he's new to the UFC, but he actually has more UFC fights than Yuri. He's got 6 of them now, and he's 5-1. Most recently beating Jan Blachowicz by split decision. He lost to Adesanya and beat Adesanya. So he's 1-1 against him. That's a middleweight. Everything prior to was middleweight, right? Sean Strickland win, Bruno Silva, Andreas Michailidis. So the Jan Blachowicz win is the only thing we got to go off of. And he led 70-52 in significant strikes, gave up 3 takedowns. So both of these guys give up takedowns, but they want to stand and strike. And you see, even for a guy like Jan Blachowicz, the numbers come way down against Pereira. That's going to be the whole question mark of this fight is, can Yuri keep up the pace? When you ask yourself how this fight's going to play out, can Yuri keep up the pace that he's used to or not? And guys like Pereira, just like Sean Strickland too, can cause problems with those numbers, which we heavily rely on. But you also got to look at the fact that it's a different pace from Pereira. He's going to have that lead leg up. He's going to keep you off balance. He's going to continue to press forward, and that's going to create problems. But listen, we got Yuri Prochazka on the do list, even though he's been injured, for a reason, right? He's up there in the top 10 for a reason, because he's a bad dude. And I don't care about the injury. I don't care about none of that. This guy's coming back for what is rightfully his. He's not going to let Alex Pereira gain the belt here. So I like Yuri Prochazka just on sheer heart. Forget the numbers, right? He's going to find a way to win this thing, and I think he's going to get the finish, to be honest with you, for his 30th professional win. So forget the numbers in this one. Yuri gets the finish. He moves to 30-3. Pereira falls to just 8-3 here in the light heavyweight division for the strap at UFC 295. Yeah, and that's the thing is, when you look at this fight, Alex Pereira doesn't back up. He's going to have that lead leg forward. He's going to be kicking it straight ahead. And Yuri doesn't stop coming forward. So something is going to happen here. And although Pereira is very patient, Yuri's going to push the pace. He's going to also be putting himself in a tough situation within striking distance of Pereira, which makes the fight interesting. But I still think Yuri ends up getting the finish. I mean, he likes to be up close and personal. And that does play into Pereira's game. And Pereira packs a punch, man. You got to give it to him. He lands one, you're in deep trouble, as we saw against guys like Sean Strickland and Adesanya. So definitely a big-time fight. Someone is walking out of there with the title. And could Alex Pereira gain both the middleweight at one point and then now the light heavyweight? That's what's on the line for him. And Yuri's just trying to get his belt back so he can face Jamal Hill in what would be a blockbuster fight. Champ versus champ, really. 2 guys that had to relinquish the belt. Fighting for it. That's what everybody wants to see. As we jump into the Q&A, you got What the Heck saying, I will never root for a guy with hair like that. Speaking of Yuri Prochazka. And I could tell you, the hair is what it is. But the dude can fight. That's a heck of a reason not to go with someone. But I get it, It tells you all about the UFC and the fans. You might think there's some deep discussion on who's actually going to win the fight. No, I don't like how his hair looks. I'm going to go with the bald guy. That's just what it comes down to. Rastafarian, love your predictions. But in this instance, I can tell you don't remember Brenner's last fight. And I was wrong last night. Elvis Brenner, knowing better, I should have took Elvis Brenner. But instead, I went with Krzyzewski making his UFC debut. And it didn't go well. Could have been a 7-2 night. Instead, it was a 6-3 night. But it is what it is. We had to take a chance on one, and luckily we got 4 or 5 in a row before that. Thankfully. Al Topo Maktapo. Long time weighing in. My favorite heavyweight too. Speaking of Jailton Almeida. Wasn't exciting last night, but he did what he had to do to get the win. Then you got Red Pill Reich saying another first round KO for Pavlovich. Yeah, and I think so too. I hope so. Is it 5 or 6 in a row, first round KOs? I mean, it's crazy. Pavlovich is on a roll. And it'll be a good night if Mackenzie Dern, Pavlovich, and Yuri Prochazka all win. And the big 3 in the pay-per-view event we take very seriously. And, our record in the final 3 of the pay-per-view events are probably better average than the overall average. In fact, I know it is. Because we struggle in the prelims a lot of times. Just because we don't know those fighters as well. And we're going to stick with Dern, Pavlovich, and Yuri this Saturday night. And I can't wait for it. Looking forward to it. But that's going to do it for today, man. Big week coming. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out all the predictions, most of which are already posted on the channel. For now, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day and God bless. Peace.